Welcome to the AI Chat Podcast. I'm your host, Jaden Schaefer. Today's episode is brought to you by Self-Pause, which is an AI life coach that I absolutely love. Self-Pause allows you to go and have a conversation around anything that you're trying to achieve. It helps you set goals. It helps you build positive habits, eliminate limiting beliefs. It's essentially just your personal coach for anything that you're trying to focus on in life. The best AI life coach. You need to check them out. Go download the app. This is something that seriously can change your mindset, and I am a massive believer in mindset. I know that if you change your mindset, you can accomplish anything you want to. So go download the Self-Pause app today, iOS and Android. This is something you absolutely need to get. Have you ever wanted to start your own podcast? I record and publish podcasts on a platform called Spotify for Podcasters, and I absolutely love it. Essentially, you can upload from your phone or computer, and it distributes to every platform that plays podcasts. They support video podcasts, and you can make money on the platform with ads or even podcast subscriptions, something that has made my life so much easier as a podcaster. So if you're interested, I highly recommend you give it a try. You can download the Spotify for Podcast app or go to spotify.com/podcasters to get started on your podcast today. ChatGPT has the ability to disrupt a lot of different industries, and one in particular is education. Today on the podcast, we're going to be diving into how GPT4 is going to be disrupting education and what is currently happening in this space. I think one of the biggest stories in this particular area, which actually OpenAI announced when they did their big, huge launch of GPT-4, is Khan Academy. And Saul Khan, who's the founder of Khan Academy, explains why he thinks that GPT-4 is ready to be a tutor. Now, in the past, this has gotten a lot of criticism, I guess you could say, because ChatGPT obviously has the ability to hallucinate and just make up random facts. And so, people, when talking about GPT and ChatGPT being used for education, one of the big concerns is, what if this thing is just making up random stuff and it's, teaching it to kids, and now they don't know what's actually like fact and fiction. And so, this has obviously been a big debate and a big area of discussion in the past. But what's really interesting is, Mr. Khan, obviously he says this technology is very powerful. I think that's something we all know. And then he points out to the fact that it is getting better and better. So that obviously is something that we all know. But I think that, there's also a lot of just high profile examples, aka people posting screenshots on Twitter or wherever, about ChatGPT getting really basic facts and math and all that kind of stuff wrong. And so I think OpenAI is trying to claim that their newest version, GPT-4, solves a lot of those problems. I don't know if it actually is any better at doing math per se, but they have also integrated plugins that are better at doing math and that kind of stuff. And so I think that might be used to fill the gap. Now, it's pretty interesting because if you talk to Khan Academy specifically about kind of what they have going in, they actually have a AI-assisted tutor called Conmigo, and that is what they kind of launched with when GPT-4 initially launched. So with that, I think at the moment they have a couple new schools that added. So I think they have a total of 425 teachers and students that are currently testing this out. And so I think they're just rolling it out to a couple specific schools at the moment. And how it works essentially is that the chatbot is pretty much like a real life online tutor, looking at students' work and helping them when they get stuck. That's kind of the idea of it. So in a math problem, for example, it would detect not just whether a student got the answer right or wrong, but also where they might have gone astray in their reasoning. And if you kind of, zooming out and looking at the bigger picture, ChatGPT obviously has gotten a lot of criticism around everything within education, from, people saying it's not correct enough to people wanting to ban it because they're worried that people are just going to use it to write all of their essays, yada, yada. And so there's obviously a whole number of different concerns. But what's interesting is, Khan said that he understands all of these fears that people, all of these kind of controversies that are happening right now. But he also notes that many of the people criticizing, ChatGPT and whatnot are actually using it themselves. You see this a lot. A lot of teachers are using ChatGPT to help them grade students' work and to help them come up with assignments and stuff like that. I've even talked to a teacher that had it write his entire curriculum for his entire semester. So obviously this thing is incredibly powerful. And I think it really is in the best interest of these students to let them, use it, get to know it, because when there's something this powerful a tool, you don't want these kids to be the ones left behind. And so I think for all of the flaws that it might have, I'd say today this really offers an amazing opportunity for kids in, both rich and developing countries to really get personalized learning with this tool, despite some of the imperfections it might have, and especially under the, realization that this technology is going to get better and better, and we want to start testing and integrating it now so that we can have it ready as this thing becomes, incredibly accurate in the future. Something interesting to note is that Khan Academy says that they didn't just take GPT-4 right out of the box, because, essentially you can get an API to ChatGPT and use it and integrate it into whatever you're doing. But they said, it's not just straight out of the box. It's not just, an API, because obviously that wouldn't have any value add. They said that they added some of their own secret sauce to help avoid math problems. And they've said they'd be surprised if anyone has worked harder on this than they have, which is kind of interesting because, math is one area that has been notoriously criticized in. And in previous versions before GPT-4, I tested it pretty extensively and found it not super great. I know GPT-4 has helped some of these problems, and I think plugins have helped a lot more. But anyways, it's going to be pretty interesting. I kind of know what they're talking about. In the past, I've helped develop AI life coaches, and we have really complex and elaborate and long prompts that you're essentially telling ChatGPT to act like, to help it become a life coach. And so I'm assuming it's going to be the same thing. It's going to say, pretend you are a math tutor, look over the kids' work, look at how they've solved the problem, explain every step of the way the problems they solved, and they probably have some sort of plugin integrated that says for all computation of math problems use X, Y, and Z plugin, or pull it from here, don't do the math problem yourself. Like, I'm sure they have a lot of those kind of things. Secret sauce, it doesn't sound that complicated. You're just going to integrate it with a calculator essentially, and then you're going to explain the steps of what this student needs to do. So I'm sure they did work hard and tried to make some custom stuff, but also, I don't know, I wouldn't give them too much credit. They have their own Khan Academy GPT. They really are still using an API, even if they have a elaborate prompt that they put at the beginning and maybe a plugin they integrate with. In any case, another popular feature allows students from elementary school and all the way up to high school to take either side of an issue and debate with the AI tutor. Again, I'm sure that Khan Academy or whatever is going to try to play it off like they have some secret sauce, but all you're going to do is say, pretend that you are a elementary school or high school grade 12 debater, and you're debating the opposite side of this issue, and the issue is blank, and then it just fills it in with, and then it just debates, right? So it's nothing that not anyone could just figure out. So I haven't quite been dazzled by anything that they've done specifically, but obviously GPT-4 is getting better and better, and this is an amazing tool, regardless of whether it's Khan Academy or virtually anyone that I think is going to be able to implement this in the near future. Now, that being said, I do hope Khan Academy, as they are, I remember using them growing up, and they are a pretty big platform, so I do hope that they, come and help develop some really powerful AI tools, maybe use some of their data to build some of their own language models. But at the moment, they are using an API, and so I won't hype them as a company up too much since they're just using the API from ChatGPT. So Khan Academy does, acknowledge or whatever that the chatbot, like the students, it is helping tutors, still has a lot to learn. And that's why it's being only made available to a really small group. They're testing it on right now, right around 500 students and teachers. And I think that it's going to get better. They said that people who are opting in hopefully know that it's not perfect, and that it's getting better quite fast with earlier versions, including GPT 3.5. So that was the second version of ChatGPT. They said that the engine could help answer a lot of math problems, but it couldn't break down the math problems into steps the way that GPT-4 can. So that is one of the big improvements that has been made. And that's actually what was really necessary for this thing to be considered, like a full-time tutor, because that's what it needed to be able to do. So as far as next steps on what Khan Academy plans on doing, they say that they would love to see the program cover current events and be able to work on problems that require a diagram or graph. We're not there yet, but with the new feature where you can upload images, to ChatGPT and to GPT4, this might be something that is coming soon. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens in the space, how Khan Academy plans on integrating some of this technology into their platform, and also how education and schools as a whole integrate this into what they're doing. It's going to be a really interesting space to continue watching in the future.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Forget the frustration of picking commerce platforms when you switch your business to Shopify, the global commerce platform that supercharges your selling wherever you sell. With Shopify, you'll harness the same intuitive features, trusted apps, and powerful analytics used by the world's leading brands. Sign up today for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/tech, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/tech.
TIAA is on a mission. Why? Because 54% of Black Americans don't have enough savings to retire. So in collaboration with big-name artists like Wyclef Jean, TIAA released Paper Right, new music inspiring a new financial future. With 100% of streaming sales going to a nonprofit that teaches students how to invest. Stream Paper Right now and help close the gap.
Thank you for listening to the AI Chat Podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, I'd appreciate it if you rate me wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you're looking for an innovative group of AI enthusiasts, make sure you check out our Discord channel and also our Facebook community. It's obviously a lot more interactive than a podcast where we can actually share software tools, prompts that we're using in everyday AI. I'll leave a link for those in the description below.